Hey, I'm Julian, leader of Worship and Creative, and I want to thank you for being a part of the Worship and Creative podcast where we talk about being a healthy creative. I hope that you were challenged and encouraged by our conversation today. Also, make sure you subscribe and leave a review so that we can get more connected with you. Today, we have an incredible guest that I'm excited about. We have our friend, Josh Whiting, joining us, also known as BrightCoal. If you're on Instagram at all and you know logos, you need to know something about logos, this is the guy that you want to talk to and be in his life. But before we get started, make sure you subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you never miss another episode. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, also make sure that you hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode. But why don't we do this? We're going to bring Josh on and we're going to get this incredible conversation started. Josh, how's it going, bro?
Dude, I'm doing good. How are you?
So good. I'm so glad that you said yes to coming on here to talk to us all things creative and all things BrightCoal.
Of course. I would jump on if you just wanted to hop on and talk on the phone as friends. But if it means we get to turn on lights and do a show, that's great too. Big fan.
I'm a huge fan of lights and lighting and cameras. And so I will do whatever I can and make any excuse to put that up.
Yeah, you showed me your setup before we jumped on here. I'm like, wow, that is much more elaborate and impressive than anything I have ever messed with. But there you go, man. It looks great.
Well, you got to put your full force. I truly believe anything that you do, put your heart into it. And I believe that it'll all work out for the best if you put your full heart into it, And so sometimes it's hard to, and sometimes you get busy with life, but you got to do what you can. But what people don't know is that my setup, it's not that elaborate. I have an iPad taped to my camera setup over here. I have my camera, my iPad's literally taped to it so that I can see you and not look down at my computer. And then I have some cheap lights I got from Amazon. So we're doing okay.
Okay.
We're not that pro yet. We're still kind of making it a little ghetto as we get going here.
I love it. Yeah, my big goal with stuff, and I had to like sit myself on the side and say, like, Josh, if we're gonna get into video, we're gonna start doing this stuff. You are not allowed to geek out and become like a gearhead. Like, I have that tendency.
Ooh.
I know my past and stuff. I'm like, I cannot, like, I've got to stay focused, got to stay on logos, got to stay on the content. Don't get into, you're not a videographer. So I don't know.
Well, you're slowly going to become a gearhead.
We're 90 seconds in and I've already got the conversation off the rails. Julian, what do you want to talk about today?
Well, Josh, why don't you do this real quick? You warned me that 15 minutes later, you will finally tell me who you are, but could you just tell our audience who Josh Whiting is and what he does?
Yes. So I am a logo designer. I focus on work for churches and student ministries. I grew up in advertising, so I have kind of a background in web and just doing everything that you would need to do at an advertising agency. I can set up your Google Ads campaign for you. I'm not going to, but it's some of those muscles that you learn from. There you go. But yeah, like I kind of started this thing as a crazy experiment in 2018. When I say this thing, I mean BrightCoal. And it's just a company of one. And I saw a big need, especially in student ministries, of like, hey, like all these designers that I see, they're going after like mega churches and big contracts and retainers. And I said, what if any solutions can be found for people that are like average sized churches or youth groups, and a bunch of smart, loving people that care about me a lot said, Josh, this is a terrible idea. Youth groups have to do car washes to raise money to buy things they actually need. And now you're going to try and feed your family with graphics. And I said, hey, I'm going to try it. At the time I had a day job and I was like, I'm going to just give this thing 6 months and work on it nights and weekends and see if there's a need there that I can help fix. And here we are. What is it? 3-4 years later, and man, I'm loving it, man. I really feel like it is really special when you feel like you've stepped into something that you were like kind of born to do in a way. I don't know if that's like too grandiose, but I'm pumped every morning when I wake up, and I feel lucky to I tell my son, Daddy draws pictures on the computer for money for churches. That's what I do, and I love it.
That's awesome. Hey, great job at keeping it down to like a minute. I'm really
I
impressed by
tried,
you right
man.
now.
I tried. I I know we were joking before we jumped on. I said, like, you got to be careful because I can spend 20 minutes on any one question you ask me and end up way over here. So trying to curb it in a little bit.
Yeah. So you said 4 years that you started doing BrightCoal. And
Hmm.
during that time, when you first started, you had day jobs. You had
Yep.
companies that you worked for, and you were doing this on the side. Which I would say a lot of designers, a lot of people who are in this industry, that's probably the same thing for them. They're either full time in a day job doing the design work, or they're in a
Yeah.
day job working full time, also doing their own thing on the side, trying to make that side hustle work. Now,
Yep.
for you, what has that journey been like? You've been on both sides of the world now. Now you are full time BrightCoal. You are by yourself
Yeah.
doing your thing. What has that journey been like for you, and how did you get to this point? And feel free to share whatever you want and whatever you don't want.
Yeah, absolutely. So, back up a little bit so 2018 is when I started BrightCoal and I had some like focus behind it, right? That was when it was
Yeah,
this is a company. It's not just, Josh doing design work, which is a different
yeah,
distinction. Because the prior 10 years of the career was what I think a lot of people do or experience where, you have some skills, whether it's, design or web or illustration or copy, whatever. You get paid to do that thing somewhere, or you just enjoy it. And you get referral work from friends and
yeah,
family, or like a little bit of like offshoot from the agency. They're like, hey, we don't want this job. Do you want it? Kind of thing. Just work kind of comes to you, and it really varies in terms of like what type of work it is, how good of a fit it is. Some clients are terrible, some of them are great, some of them pay really well, some of them don't. And
Some of them
there's
don't
no
pay at all.
consistency. Yeah, and you just never know. Like they kind of come up when they
Yeah,
come up. So you'll have like a couple weeks where you don't have work to do, and now you've got a project, right? And I
yeah,
think that is a pretty common story that I hear with folks, and it feels like kind of like your starting ground. Like as soon as your aunt finds out you do graphics, she's like, "Oh, well, like my
yeah,
thing needs a graphic. Would you do it?" And you're like, how do I do this?" And every project is in some ways figuring out the relationship and the process custom each time.
yeah,
So 2015, 2016, I started hearing all these podcasts about like niching down and like
yeah,
focusing on focusing on like a specific audience and maybe a specific offering, and just getting really specific and intentional about who you are, what you're doing, and like say that to the world. And there's a little bit of
yeah.
bravery there, because the day you say, "Hi, I am a logo designer for youth groups," right? Like the knee jerk is like, "Well, yeah, but what about the pizzeria that just asked me to do stuff? I wouldn't have gotten their menu design if I said that to them." Right. And so like that's
Right.
everybody's fear going into it. But I started listening to all these podcasts, kind of like ruminating in this concept, and realized and just said, "Hey, like what could be the worst thing that happens if I do this like kind of experiment?"
Yeah,
And what ends up happening is you get really attractive to the right people that you love focusing on,
that's right.
and the type of work that you love the best. They refer you to all their friends if you do good work,
Yeah,
and you're able to build processes and things that like streamline it, and you're then like, no, okay, like I learned things this time, I can now apply that to the next project and the next project, and the work itself is different. You're not like productizing the thing you do,
yeah,
or like making it like a template out of it, like it has no life. Like every logo project that comes in the door, it's like I'm trying to take like special ingredients and like learn about them, and but I'm
yeah.
able to then
So good.
focus on the relationship with the client and the work specific to the project. All the noise of like selling and like how do I do this thing? Like I've set up, a 6-page brochure in InDesign, but I've never done a 400-page document. Like I got to go figure things. You don't have
Oh
to
gosh.
figure out as much stuff,
Yeah,
right? And people
for
also
sure.
start saying, "Oh, he knows what he's doing. Here's 10 examples on his website." And a buddy of mine in this industry referred him to me. Like you walk
Yeah,
into step 0 of the project with a lot of rapport and trust with your client, which goes a long way.
so true.
Um, and so one of the guys on one of these podcasts, I forget what specific guy it was, so I can't quote him, but he says it feels like you've got a room full of little kids and they're all going
Yeah,
crazy. And then as soon as you say like, this is how this works and this is what I do, they're still little kids. Like there's some managing to happen, but they all line up and it just gets like clearer, right? Like you've seen the classrooms of kids that are just going nuts, and then the ones
Yep.
where it's like, oh, like the teacher has a game plan. And that's not to say like clients are children. I don't want to degrade them. I love my clients. I love working with them, and I think that the best work comes out of like a dance between two partners, not
Yep.
me being in charge or them dictating what happens. It's kind of both, right?
Yeah.
And the way that you get there is you set up an outline and some like guardrails for the project. But before you
That's
can do
good.
that, it's not worth it to do that custom each time. So you got to kind of, I don't know, I'm kind of getting off on a rabbit trail here, but yeah. So I started the career back in like what I consider normal for most people, and then made a hard, distinct like choice to make a little bit of a scarier, like bolder step.
Yeah.
And I can say, on the flip side of 3 years of hard work, it is absolutely worth it. It is amazing. It is my favorite work I've done in my entire life, or
That's
career, or
awesome.
whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I mean, was it scary to make that jump from having a consistent paycheck to, okay, now this is all on me? Like, what did that do to you mentally?
Yeah. Are you talking about more recently, like when I went from like
Well, yeah,
doing
like you
BrightCoal
went
on the
from
side to full time?
to full time. Yeah, exactly.
So it was not scary for me. I mean, there's the fear that I wrestle with is different than what I think people would expect jumping out on their own, but it's because of
Yeah.
the way that I did it. So I think the natural fears people think is like, where am I going to get money from? Is this going to work? Um, like, how do I handle like finances or sales or like one other operational part of the business, right?
Yep.
But what I did was tested the theory for 3.5 years before I did it. So like I knew, like I had data to like support, like, oh, this is how much I can expect to get each month. Oh, I've got like a client base. So I know like people know me. I'm not going from like cold turkey to full-time freelance. And I would recommend that same move for people, because then,
Yeah.
if you got a little nest egg saved up, like it really takes the pressure off of got to perform, got to deliver, and might like fudge it on the dream and like start like saying, I will take this project that's a bad fit just because I need cash flow, right? Then you can
Yeah.
stay pure, you can stay true to the game plan,
So good.
and it also like allows you to like stay healthier yourself, right? Like you're not working as crazy of hours. You're not again like compromising on things and relationships and projects just to keep the lights on at the house, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the fears that I wrestled with were kind of different. It was, all right, Josh, you have been telling everyone in your world this is the dream for 3 years, and like talking about how like, oh man, everything's so great at BrightCoal, like it's the best ever. I can't believe it. What happens if you just step out of the boat and all the work dries up? Because it could. Like I don't know what
Yeah,
projects
for
I'm taking
sure.
in July, right? I am
Yeah.
95% project based. I don't have retainers for the most part.
Yeah.
And so like at any day it could all go away, right? And there's
Wow.
that fear of like, what if I step out and it fails? What if it doesn't work
Yeah.
for my family? What if like it's not what I thought it would be? And like I don't know if you've ever been in an experience where you have a hobby. Like I used to play music and all that kind of stuff. And then I got in a bunch of bands. And then I started thinking about that like career wise, and I got burned out, and I don't play music anymore. I haven't picked up a guitar in like years because I put too much weight on a fun thing, and then it like crushed the fun thing. And I was
Yeah.
very
So true.
nervous that was going to happen here. And I was like, what if I put too much weight on it? And then now like it sucks all the joy out of it. And then like, I don't know, that's a whole separate thing. So those were like the existential fears that I wrestled with, or like, what if this like decreases quality of life for my family? And while I'm having fun, like life is worse for them. It's costing them something for dad to have his dream job or whatever. So that was the stuff that I wrestled with, a little bit different than what I think the normal jump is like, I have a dream. Next month, I'm launching full time into the dream. Like give your dream some room to grow, like incubate for a
So
while,
good.
and you'll be in a better spot.
That's so good. Josh, that was so smart. I mean, you probably hit that right on the nose for people who are wanting to really make that jump from having it be a hobby, a side job, to making it full time. Like, you gave it time, you let it brew, you learned how to do things a certain way so that you can be
Yep.
successful. And a lot of people, they just think, hey, I have this great skill, I'm just going to jump out and do it, when they don't have brand recognition. They don't have people who are going to back them. They don't have what you created in 3 years. You took 3 years to do that. And that's amazing. For me, my unfortunate situation was a little bit different. Like, I didn't have 3 years. I had many years, 15 years of design and video work and all that stuff to build who I am.
You knew the
But
craft,
nobody,
right? Yeah.
yeah, I knew the craft, and I knew all that. But 2020 happened, and all of a sudden I had no job, and I had to create my own thing, and I had to just get out there and just hustle the heck out of it. And
Yep.
that's all I've been doing full time, now. And but for me, it was such a hustle and such a worry and such a pain, because I didn't have 3 years or even 1 year to prepare for what was
Yeah.
coming. So like, for anybody who's out there, man, like, take time, slow down. Don't jump off the cliff without knowing where to jump. Like, that's
Please.
the key to cliff jumping. You need to know that the waters are not shallow, and you're not going to land and break your legs. And that's what you need to do with your career if you're wanting to go full time on your own as a freelancer, or if you're going to start your own LLC and actually make it a full on business. Man, like, do your homework, figure out what it takes to get to that point, so that you can be successful and not ruining your life with the self-doubt and everything else. So
Yeah.
I think that was super smart,
And
Josh.
yeah. And again, like, I'm not a super genius. I just listen to smart other people. And
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
there's a couple of books and resources that, even like years before BrightCoal was ever even like remotely a concept. I read Quitter by John Acuff, and he talked about what a blessing a boring day job is. Because you got then like this umbrella to protect your dream and your family while you are tweaking this thing. Like,
Yeah.
it took me the first 6 months of BrightCoal, I had 3 phone calls. Each of them were about an hour long, to land my very first official BrightCoal project. And it was a $150 t-shirt design. And on the one hand, I was like, yes, it's happened. Right. And on the flip side, I was like, this is not sustainable. Like, I just spent 3 hours landing a job to get paid $150. Like, this is, and I was like doing all this math of like, multiply it times months and years and projects. I'm like, it can't work. And I also like, spent out of the gate, my rates were wrong, man. Like, they were bad wrong, to where it was like just ending, like tanking every conversation that I had. And like, again, if I was like, my family is waiting on this money to put food on the table, I would have had to like pack up shop, like, cool, that was a good idea, but like, I got to go make money. This is not viable, right?
Yeah.
But because I was willing to, like, I had the grit and like willing to take 1,000 hard steps down the road and like bump into this, nope, bump into this, nope, and keep doing all that stuff. Like, I was only able to even like try it and put in all that work because I had the day job. The pressure was off to figure it out immediately. I had time
Yep.
to figure it out.
Yep.
Another guy that does a really good job talking through, like, go from side hustle to main gig. And some people need to keep it as a side hustle. Like, I thought for a while, like, BrightCoal might just be a side job that brings life. And it was great for, a good chunk of time like that. But another one is the Perspective Collective podcast and stuff with Scotty Russell. I think he might have changed it to like Coach Scotty Russell now, but he's a former designer, illustrator guy that now only focuses on coaching. He is a little pricey, but his stuff is like very good. And there's a lot of like free materials that he offers as well. It is not like churchy, whatever. I don't know if you guys listening to this are like, I don't want cussing on my podcast. He might not be a great one for you. But he's got a lot of great insights to offer in terms of like how to, navigate this journey here. But yeah, my rates were way out of whack. And I, spent a couple of months like, and this was back like when I started BrightCoal, I had no contacts in this space. It wasn't like, oh, Josh is a church designer or he's like on staff at a church and now he's stepping in. I had like 2 people that knew who I was in this space and like 0 followers on Instagram. Like, BrightCoal was like started at 0. And so I was more or less cold calling. Like, I would like slide into youth pastors' DMs and like chat it up and just be friendly and like
Yeah.
try and schedule a call. And like, I did that for 9 months, and I was working really hard to land these phone calls. And we're going through the whole thing. I'm getting to know them and all this stuff. And then I talk about rates, and they're just like, cool, thanks, no. I was like, okay, cool. So I scrapped all of my rates, and for a good chunk of time, I said, how much is this project worth to you? Like, I'm giving you a blank check. Like, tell me what you want to pay, and I will do the work for that amount. And then just sit there and wait in the awkward silence. And you're like,
Yeah.
I think like $400. And like, okay, cool. $400 is your price. And so like I went through that until I had like enough data to show like, oh, this is what people are expecting for this much money. So then I redid
Yeah.
my rates. I was like, all right, cool. And then one day, like you just put in enough little like drops in the bucket of like phone calls and like trying stuff out. Like I can't remember distinctly what happened, but there's just a day where people started picking up the phone and calling me, and I didn't have to go like, I haven't had to do a single like cold reach out since then.
Yeah.
And it's, like nothing, no magic switch flipped or anything like that. I think we're all looking for some like guaranteed, like we need it to work this time or whatever. And if you just set some arbitrary number, like, hey, if I do 500 phone calls, the dream will be real. If I practice hand lettering, if I
Yep.
do like 60 projects, I will be maybe not amazing, but I'll be good. And you just
Yeah.
set these like high bars, and then just naturally somewhere along there, either you find a better way to do it, or like the scale tips and like, oh, I am good at this now, or oh, I do have leads now, right? There's so
Yeah.
much of the time we're like waiting for that fifth phone call to do it. And we're like, well, the
Yeah.
dream isn't real because I called 6 people and now I don't, 2 of them said no and the other 4 are waiting, like you got to, that grit
Yeah.
factor is more important than you being talented or
So true.
personable or like good at sales. Like I'm not a salesman. Like, I like
Yeah,
meeting
for
people.
sure.
I like talking about what I do. But like it's one of those things. It's like I believe in this concept enough, and I'm enjoying the baby steps of practicing enough to where like I'm gonna keep rolling. And yeah.
Yeah, no, that's huge. You said quite a few things in there that I think everybody should grab a hold of.
You said quite a few
The
things. Full stop.
You did. Uh, Josh, I think Josh is insecure about talking too much. We're going to tackle that today.
Dog, it's one of those things I got to keep an eye on. Like I'm the guy in small group. I'm either going to say nothing, or I'm just going to
Oh my gosh.
dominate the conversation
Or you're a
with
floodgate.
questions and like, tell me about your father wound, please. And my wife's like, shut up, you gotta go.
That's awesome.
Like, Josh, you're not the small group leader. Calm down.
That's so funny, bro. You said a few things though in there that I think everybody should take notes and write down. One of them, you need to have that grit. You need to be every single day hustling. If you want this to be your dream, if you want this to be what you do, you need to be hustling. Have grit in your teeth and just get after it every single day. You're going to get a lot of no's. You're going to get a lot of disappointment. You're going to get a lot of times where you're like wanting to give up. But that you got to throw that insecurity.
Some things that look terrible.
Yeah, no, for real. You're going to create more bad stuff than you're going to create good. Like honestly,
yeah.
But a lot of that bad can turn into good. That's the thing. You got to keep moving forward, keep doing what you're doing. And another thing that you mentioned is you made a shift and you said, I found my niche, that I found out what I needed to focus on. And a lot of people, they're too broad. They're too wide open to anything to happen rather than just focusing on one thing and mastering that craft. And what I would say to anybody, even if you're a designer or whatever it is, if you want to be a graphic designer, if you want to be a videographer, you want to be someone who is in that field, man, like if you're a videographer, make videos every single day. Work on that craft. If it's real estate, man, go to practice on your own house, practice on your friend's house. Like be making these videos and be perfect and get better at your craft and continue to work at it every single day. Put that grit in your teeth so that you can master what you're doing and you can sell yourself as, hey, I am the guy for this job. And here's why, because I've done this many videos. I've done this many things. And when you focus on that niche, I'm telling you, like there will be a shift in who you are and what you do, whatever the career is for you. And so focus on that niche, continue to work at it every single day. And it's going to be, you can't even put a time on it for you when it just switched over and it started happening. It just happened.
Yeah.
And I really believe that's just consistency. Consistency truly is key in our careers and what we do, especially in the creative world. And so don't like that. And that's why even like with worship and creative, we talk a lot about keep creating. That's like, I just say that over and over. Hey, just keep creating, keep doing what you're doing. I say that not lightly. I want you to keep doing it, keep showing up, keep doing what you're doing, because if you give up, the dream will never show up. The dream will never come to pass in your life, but you have to keep creating and doing what you are called to do. Josh, listen, you're a dad, you're a husband, you work from home, you have a lot going on. Okay. And in today's world, because we have a lot going on, we have our social media, we have just life, and life gets hard. And I can attest that life gets hard, especially when you have kids. Life gets hard. When you're married, marriage sometimes is hard. And what do you do? What are some key factors in your life that you do to keep your head afloat so that you're not drowning in your work, you're not drowning in your home life, you're not doing that kind of stuff? What are some things in your life that keep you going, I'm going to stay healthy and I'm going to stay on the course of what I'm called to do and not give up and fail?
That's another thing. I know myself, and I can get obsessive. I can become a workaholic. Like, left to my own devices, I would try and work like 12 hours a day, right? That's not healthy. Even if I could do that and neglect my family and be a bad dad or bad husband, by hour 10, you're not producing very sharp work, right? Like, it's just more like an obsession at that point. And so, like, I think that's one of the things that God's been like fathering me in this, I don't even know, basically forever, but especially lately, is like, okay, Josh, like, do you trust me with the dream? Like, you've shown up, you've done your part, but can you trust me to like take care of you and take care of your family? And like, don't try and shoulder this whole thing by yourself. That's not healthy. It's not a good thing for you, for your clients, for your family, any of that stuff. Like, I want to do this with you. I don't want to have like given you this opportunity or given you this dream and then you just go off and run with it, right? Like, I want, like, let's stay close. So obviously your relationship with God is a big one, and making time and making time to get quiet, because I think that's one of the things. I know, folks, whether people are working from home or like for a day job or whatever, like, once the pandemic hit, everybody said like, oh, I need to renegotiate, like, what does a work day look like? Because it's so easy to just never unplug. So one thing that I've done that has been immensely helpful is I unplug at 4 p.m. I'll take the kids out in the yard. I'll hit golf balls. We'll go on a walk. Just like squirt them with the hose, whatever. Give my wife a break, right? It gets me outside and turns off the like work brain. Even if I'm like struggling behind, I'm in the middle of the project, I will stop, do hardcore family time, and really try not to. Sometimes I want to bring my phone outside or do anything. Because it's so easy to then go like, all right, now let me catch up on what happened on Instagram today. And like, don't, like, unplug. Make some time in your day to unplug. Going to the gym every morning is another one where it's like a structure, like, okay, get up, start the day, get on with the thing. And
I mean, you even sent me a picture of your gym selfie. You were all sweaty and gross right before this.
I want to tell you that's because I was working out. It wasn't. I was just sitting out in the heat on the front porch. But I like to work outside too, even when it's like way too hot out there.
That's just from sitting outside. Gosh,
dog, I'm a sweater, baby. I also,
you got humidity there too,
huh? Yeah, we got lots of humidity.
Yeah,
we got a buy one get one free sale on humidity.
Oh, so here in Phoenix, it's dry heat, so I can sit out and not sweat at all. It's great.
That's not bad. Now, I'll also take sales calls, which I was just on before. So I was like walking through the neighborhood, talking to somebody. Cool. But yeah, that's really it. Just like unplug, like think about, like, I don't care how much I love this job. Like, what kind of legacy are you leaving if you just like gave the best of yourself to your work? Even if it's good work, even if you're doing logos for youth groups or, like whatever like good thing it is, like it's not better. Like your first calling is to God, your second calling is to your family, and then everything
Yeah.
else, like you got to sort it out from there. And I think that your day and your week and your energy levels should reflect that too.
Yeah, no, that's huge. I think it's so important for us to learn how to unplug, truly, like you said, put your phone away, don't take it with you, whatever you can to unplug from your work. I personally do get obsessed and I want to get the job done and I want to see the outcome, right? And
Yeah,
I'm very guilty
gonna hit that
of working
deadline.
till yeah, I'm very guilty of working all the way through the night, like killing myself and then my family's suffering the next day because I'm so tired
You got
and done
cranky
for
dad.
because of exactly which isn't good, and so but that's huge, man. I think unplugging and putting yourself in a position where you can truly just take yourself out of that zone is
Yeah,
very good. And it's hard. It's hard. I mean, it's on my mind, and I'm thinking about my work and what I need to get done. But the
and
best
you were
thing you
talking
could
about
do for yourself is unplug.
yeah, and you mentioned I think burnout. And I think that we have like this capital B burnout. Like there's one definition for us, and it is I hate my life all the time. I don't know what to do. I never want to like pick up a pencil again. I never want to pick up a guitar, a video camera, whatever. And for me, like that, yes, you need to make some course correction there. But I also get burned out every week. It is like a lowercase b. You need to live in rhythms. You need to take that break. And
Yeah,
so
that's
like it
good.
is not crazy for me on a Thursday afternoon to say, I'm tapped. Like I don't have like I can't do this anymore. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is unhappy designing, right? And so I'll
Yep.
know like, okay, cool. Like engine light just came on. Take a break. Maybe take the night off, do a different type of work, or like go to bed early, whatever, knowing that you're going to be sharper for it the next day. And it is
Yeah.
way
No, that's
easier said
good.
than done. And I am criminally bad at breaking Sabbath and getting out of these routines that I'm over here preaching about. But I think the big again, like get back on the horse. You screwed up last week. You took it out on your family last week. Do better this week, and just stay after
Yeah.
it.
No, that's super good, bro. It's being self-aware. You need to be self-aware of who you are, what your body needs, what your mind needs. Our minds are
Yep.
strong tools, and we can use them for good, or they will control you and completely take over your thought life and everything. So your mental health, and you gotta put priority on it so that you can be somebody who is healthy and you can stay the course and move forward with your life and as a designer or as a creative as a whole. Keep your
Yep.
mind straight. We have a little bit more time. If you could, man, what are some projects that you want to tell us about that's going on in your life that I think would be helpful for people to know about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've said it about 57,000 times on this call here. But if you need help with a logo, my doors are open. I'm taking on new projects all the time. My focus is primarily churches and all the sub ministries and events that kind of go into that. But yeah, that's kind of my bread and butter, what I focus on most of the time, and I'm always taking on new stuff. But I also do fun. This is where I like burn the candle a little bit too much because I cannot shut off my brain with other ideas on top of that. And so one of the ones that I've got coming up is a new show called. It's going to be a similar kind of format as this, where I'll have guests on, and we're going to review portfolios from designers, creators, and it's going to be it's called painfully honest portfolio feedback. And it's the advice that nobody wants to hear, but
I love it.
everybody wants that straight shooter uncle in their life to like go like
Yeah.
this is garbage. Like I don't want another pat on the back. I want somebody to tell me why clients are saying no. I want somebody to tell me why I
Wow.
can't land the type of job that I want. Like what are like I would love to have somebody come in and do this for me. Like look at my stuff with a fresh set of eyes, and I've actually paid people to do it. Come and look at my stuff with a fresh set of eyes and say, what's your impression? What do you think I do? What is most important out of everything? Is it clear what your next step is?
Wow.
So I'm going to have a YouTube series where I have on guests, and I'm going to be we're going to be taking stuff, doing like the initial like reaction to like, oh, is this good or not? Like, what do you think this person does? All the things we just talked about. And it'll be just for fun, hopefully constructive feedback. If you would like to have your portfolio as a part of this thing, we've got like early acceptance in a form at brightcoal.com/honest. And so it's basically just like, if you want your name in the bucket of portfolios we might use in the show, that's where you can do that. And then the other one is like, if you want one-on-one coaching, if you said like, hey, like, that's so cool. Like, I love what you're talking about, like niching down. I love the concept, but I don't know what to pick. Right. Or I'm always running into this problem with clients. Or how did you find out like what rates to do for stuff? Or what do I do with this really problem client? I would love to just schedule an hour and like, let's talk about it. You can go to brightcoal.com/coaching for that. This is another one where it's not my bread and butter, but I'm just passionate about teaching, and I love helping people find shortcuts that took me like bumping into obstacles to get through. So if I can shorten that process up for you, I would love to.
Wow. I think what you just said, though, that's probably one of the best things that I think every creative should be doing. We should all be asking for advice. We should all be asking for people to be honest with us. And even in just one of the reels that I've made for Worship and Creative, I talked about that, how important it is for you to have people in your life that you can go to and say, here's what I made. Tell me the truth.
Yep.
Don't cookie butter what I'm at. I need you to tell me the truth so that I can grow. Because there's something valuable in becoming someone who's willing to grow based off of somebody else's opinion over your work.
That's good.
And here's the thing, Josh. A lot of times as designers or whatever it is that you do, we stay in our bubble, we do our thing, and we never ask anybody's opinions because we don't want to hear their opinion. We don't want to know the honest truth of what people are saying.
Yep.
And I believe,
or you think you're asking it, but they're not. You're like, oh, I got a bunch of like star eyes and like root hands in my comments. I must be doing good, but nobody's going to be like mean and rude in the comments, right?
Yeah. Posting it on Instagram doesn't necessarily mean anything.
That's not feedback.
Okay. Yeah. That's not feedback. Feedback is me taking my work to Josh and saying, Josh, here's what I created. Give me your honest opinion. And for him to be honest and tell me the truth. But you have to be willing to do that and not be offended by what he says, but be willing to take that honest opinion and how can you incorporate this into your life? And the reason I say you should be asking people is not necessarily only just for that, but it's for the sake of seeing your work through the eyes of the people, right? And
an outsider.
Every single time I would do it, I would ask different people, and they all had different perspectives. They all had something different to say. And I was able to take their opinions and their feedback and bring it into the design and create something even better because I can't see what they see. You know, there might be something that's so important to be in this design that I totally missed, but somebody else saw it. And I'm like, oh, yes.
Or you're winning at the wrong game. Like somebody says like, oh, I think your thing is this. And you're like, no, that's not what it is. And like, they might've said it as a compliment and you're like, oh shoot, like I need to reposition because I've heard this 4 times now. And that clearly means I'm signaling this other thing over here.
Yeah. So if you are looking for that in your life, hey, go to brightcoal.com/honest. And the other one was coaching, right? /coaching. Hey,
that's it. I
Josh
try to keep the URL simple, but
you're the man, bro. I really appreciate that. Some of these URLs, I'm like, come on, man, fix slug. Let's go. But if you're looking for, fix your slug. But if you're looking for honest opinion in your life, Josh is a great guy. He will tell you the truth. He's not in the mood to give you high fives and claps just because he wants to be nice. Feel good. Yeah, he tries to be nice, but he will be honest.
Yeah, I want to tell you the things that somebody else like. That's the other thing is like it's uncomfortable to hear negative feedback. It's also uncomfortable to give negative feedback, and usually it comes in the form of like your client saying like, I don't know, I just don't like it. It's not doing it for me. And so for somebody to give like concise, like helpful, direct or like feedback in a direction, that's a skill I'm like working on. Like I've worn the like art director hat, and it was always one of the hardest parts of the job was like explaining why the thing isn't working that my teammate like came up with, and like giving them
Yeah.
something they can go back to their desk with rather than just like, don't like it, stinky, thumbs down.
Yeah, and
Because
that's
that's
part of
not cool
the
either.
issue. If you're a graphic designer or creative in the church, your senior pastor needs to approve things, right? They have no idea. So many times I'll bring it to them like, "Yeah, there's just something about it." I'm like, "What?
Dog,
Give
I
me
could
give me
talk for an
something.
hour about that.
Give me anything. Give me anything." There's just something about it. I don't know. There's just something about it. You got to give me something.
Here's an unpopular opinion. I think that issue that you just touched on is it. There are plenty of situations where people are getting micromanaged. They don't have a good boss, don't have a healthy culture. I think it is our job as creatives to facilitate that being a good conversation. You can't just like throw stuff over the fence and then like totally depend on the creative acumen of the other person to then take the project where it needs to go. You are the
Exactly. Yeah.
host at the party. You need to make sure people feel welcome, people understand what's supposed to happen here, like what helpful feedback looks like. Don't lambaste them if they say something that's not educated. Don't use big design words. Like there are things that you can do to make this a friendly, everybody on the same side of the table looking over here thing, or a fight against two differing egos and opinions. And
Yeah.
that's on you, dog. And a lot of us don't want to own that because again, it's work. It takes
Exactly.
intentionality. It takes
Takes leadership.
vulnerability. It takes leadership and you being wrong sometimes.
Yep.
But the
That's
fruit
so
is worth
true.
it, baby. Choose your
Well,
hard.
Josh, thank you so much for being on here, bro. I know you need to get going, but we have a great conversation today. I really appreciate you just
Dude,
putting
this
your
has been
input
so
and telling
fun.
us about your life.
I will always share my unsolicited opinions and ramble as long as you need to, Julian. If you need to release a 4-hour mega episode, baby, you know who to call.
Oh, I for sure do. But you're kind of hard to get that time with because Josh. If you don't know this, he has a Calendly. So if you need to schedule a call with him, go ahead and get on his Calendly and
It's
schedule
the
a call so that you can
necessary.
talk to your friend.
Oh my god, it's the necessary evils of having a packed schedule, man. Like you gotta.
Yeah, another way of staying
It's
healthy
tough.
though, keeping your
It
schedule.
is. It is. It's the guardrails. It's
Yep.
the
So,
guardrails.
but thank you so much, Josh. I really appreciate you. If you haven't already, make sure that you follow Josh at BrightCoal at BrightCoal. Follow him on Instagram. Go to his website. Get some coaching from him. Let him be honest with you. This is a guy that you want to just get in touch with. Just be in his life. Ask him questions. Send him a DM. I don't know if he responds to those, but send him a DM. Why not? Just
I
ask
will
him
respond
all the
to a DM
questions.
for sure. I might not
Okay.
follow back up later. So like if it turns into a serious conversation, I'm like, hey, we got to switch over to email because I'm going to lose this DM. But
Yeah,
yes,
for sure.
kick off a conversation in the DMs. Slide on in there,
Yeah.
baby.
For sure. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Worship
Yup.
and Creative on YouTube.
I
Make
can't wait
sure
to see the
you are
next episode.
subscribed to the podcast on Apple and Spotify and do not miss another episode. And Josh, let's get you back on here and talk some more.
Adios. Thanks again, Julian.
Adios, amigo.